It's finally over. No more new episodes of Modern Family. It's time to say goodbye to Modern Family after the intro. Well, hello there. My name's Jeremy and welcome back to Freeform Disney, where I talk about all aspects of Disney, from the animated movies to the theme parks to Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, and the TV shows, and everything else in between. And that is why it's Freeform. And keep coming back every day for new daily content. If you're not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now on to today's topic, saying goodbye to Modern Family. It happened. It finally happened. After 11 seasons, there are no more new episodes to wait for anymore. The series finale was Wednesday night, which was a back-to-back double-long episode. And right before that, we got an hour-long behind-the-scenes documentary titled A Modern Farewell. I'm going to talk about that first and then the finale itself. So strap in, because this is one emotional finale. Oh, and in case anyone needs it, you are hereby being warned that there be spoilers ahead, matey. In the first hour, we got the behind-the-scenes documentary entitled A Modern Farewell. This was a nicely done documentary and helped give that much more closure to the show as a whole, and it was much appreciated. I love seeing that the cast love each other and their characters that much. And also, I gotta be honest, at the same time, if they all love their characters and each other that much, and by the way, the crew as well, and the writers, that makes me that much more hopeful that somewhere down the line, 10 years, 20 years in the future, wherever, that there will be a revival. When the people who do the work really love it, then there's definitely hope that if something came along, they'd be willing to come back to it. Heck, Sofia Vergara, who plays Gloria, wishes it had never ended, felt like it could keep going season after season from here. And the rest of the cast certainly seems like they felt they could have kept going too. So, given that, definitely, I got my hopes. Looking at other pieces in that documentary, it was really impactful just how important the show was in helping change the public consciousness in regards to gay relationships. I haven't followed the show way back that point in time. I've only been a convert to the show lately in the last few years, so I wasn't there for when the show was really shaping those attitudes. And given that, I wasn't aware of the impact it actually did have. And getting to hear it, that's pretty neat. I love how art can go ahead and help influence people and help change mindsets and get past barriers people would otherwise have. Comedy is good at lowering our defenses and allowing us to potentially learn something new or be able to see something from a new perspective. And Modern Family did a good job of that. And in a similar vein, how emotional Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Mitchell, really got to me. He was on the edge of breaking down or did break down on a couple different spots in that documentary. I mean, who can't love Jesse Tyler Ferguson, right? Oh, I also loved the filmed BB gun scene that Steve Levitan did to help convince the studio that they really should hire Ty Burrell. And yes, they really should have. I don't know what the heck the studio didn't see in there. And clearly the casting director, the creators, all clearly saw Ty Burrell was going to be great. And clearly the award ceremonies agreed with that afterwards too, considering he got nominated 8 times in a row. And won multiple times too. It's hard to imagine the show without Phil being played by Ty Burrell. Heck, to be honest, it's hard to imagine the show casting different people into any of those roles. Each of those actors so inhabits and so is the role they are. It was a beautifully cast show. So when it comes down to it, thank you, Steve Levitan, for fighting for Ty Burrell. Made a great choice there. And it was really fun just watching that video. Other things, Julie Bowen, who plays Claire, was actually pregnant with twins during the first episode. Never caught that. And heck, I just watched the first episode again just recently when I made a video about it. And never caught that she was actually pregnant. They hid that well, whether it was laundry baskets or whatever in front of her. Quite impressive. Eric Stonestreet, who plays Cam, grew up being a clown and even auditioned for the Ringling Brothers' Barnum and Bailey. Never knew it. Although with how well he goes ahead and plays Fizbo, I can definitely see it. So that's a pretty neat bit of the actor coming into the role. You can't always tell where those pieces are, but the actors bring so much to their different roles. I also love the story from Sarah Hyland, who plays Haley, when she was talking about how her fiancé asked her parents for her hand in marriage, as well as her show parents, Julie and Ty, i.e. Claire and Phil, for Sarah's hand in marriage. Just that level of closeness that the cast had and how much they were in each other's lives, it's touching to me. I know it's outside the show, and I try to keep those things separate to some degree, so I can just enjoy the show for the show's sake, but it still matters to me. I still appreciate hearing that. Maybe it's my own acting background that plays something into that too. One other thing about the documentary that I really like is they went and talked to a lot of the different crew. We don't always see that in a documentary. We focus a lot on the actors, or maybe even the creators. Maybe sometimes we'll see a writer, but not necessarily. This time we definitely saw the writers as well. But we also looked at some of the other crew, the production assistants, the people in charge of set decoration, and that was really cool. I wish more of these behind-the-scenes productions would actually go look at all of the crew that goes and helps put these shows together. Really neat. Good job. One last thing on the documentary. I found it interesting when they commented about how they were ending the show in part to help protect its legacy. I only wish more shows actually did take that into account and didn't keep going and going and going and going and going sometimes until the show no longer was what it used to be. And personally, I've certainly enjoyed the 11 seasons of Modern Family, and I think it's got a great legacy. Let's move on to the finale itself. It was an hour long. I think it was beautifully done. I loved it. Is it perfect? No, of course it's not. No finale ever is. No finale ever is. I can't think of one off the top of my head that I would say is perfect. Certainly there are some that are really, 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 really good. And I quite enjoyed this one. It served what I was hoping for in the finale. It was a nice ending that served every one of its characters, which is tricky to do in a show that has that many characters. And it allowed us to say goodbye to all of them, which is one of the goals the creators had in how they wanted to put the episode together. And I appreciate that. In the end, most of the characters are headed off on their own route for the next good period of time. Everyone's disappearing left and right to go some direction. And that gives us our chance for a goodbye as well. Some recurring characters I was really happy to see again. Ronaldo popped up. Love seeing Ronaldo. That's definitely hopeful for some of those recurring characters to pop in on the episode. Pepper got referenced, wasn't in there. Yes, if you watch my recurring characters video, you know that Pepper is my favorite of the recurring characters. Although Ronaldo is definitely one I love as well. The one that surprised me the most was Sal showing up. I really didn't expect Sal to show up because she hasn't been in the show since season 8. I thought she was pretty much just gone for good. Although, to be fair, she kind of was the butt of a joke, and it was kind of a two-dimensional view of what she was early in the show, not the latest times we've seen her character. Which I was a little disappointed by, and then she just disappeared, and that was that. But it was still nice to see her again. Nice to see that she still exists in our world, and we can build a little more around that as we feel. Oh, and I was surprised the cruise hadn't happened for Manny yet. Somehow in my mind, I had that cruise already happening. Don't know why, but I just didn't place it in the summer. I suppose that has to do with how a lot of things happen and we don't see them happen during the show. They're referenced once and then we don't see anything more. So that was just going on in my brain, and clearly it makes a lot more sense that it's happening here in the summer once the season finishes. Well, let's see some things I loved. I thought it was a really great moment between the three kids, Haley, Alex, and Luke. The recording of the video of the dog and that ability to come back to where they were, but especially that ending with the three of them on the couch. It was touching. It was nice to see them close like that and how much they will miss each other, how much they matter in each other's lives. That was pretty neat. I love that. Something I definitely called right. Arvin showed up in the episode. Another definitely good recurring character. And as expected, we found out at the beginning that Alex had quit her old job and is working for him now, as we expected. Or I guess technically she's going to start working for him in a little bit in order to give them the excuse to set up a cute but awkward relationship between the two. Even if it was a little forced in feeling in how it got set up, it was still a cute relationship and a good pairing. Probably one of the better potential relationships Alex has had during the course of the show. So good luck to them, I suppose, over in Switzerland. Okay, I definitely can't go too far without talking about Jay during the episode. And Jay's learning of Spanish. which really was a nice, touching gift, and I definitely can believe that out of Jay, too. Now, I thought they might have been going for it to look like he was having some kind of mental decline, although that was not one of the possibilities they brought up. They brought up a number of things that Gloria was worrying about it being, and it almost felt like they went a little too far on that. But you could see what was going, and you knew it was going to go for a nice comedic turnaround with a nice touching moment. And Jay and Gloria going to Colombia for the summer to visit her family is a nice way for them to depart as well, along with everybody else, and a nice continuation of Jay's evolution as a character. And we gave Gloria a little closure too, talking about how she's going out to be working in the world, but also the worry about how that will be seen because she's having to juggle multiple roles. So it was nice to get a little closure there. Although the whole Gloria Cam piece of the closure was a little weird, as we've never really seen them do much anyway. Okay, let's see, moving onward a little bit, Rexford. Cam and Mitch named their new kid Rexford, after the street that they had their new house on, which that's cute. Although I can't help but think of the Disneyland episode where they ran into the other kid who was named Rex and made a joke about that because of the whole leash thing, which I referenced over in the Disneyland episode just the other day. So now, I guess he can go on a leash too for him, and you can actually be like, here Rex, here Rex. Or sorry, here Rexford, here Rexford. Doesn't work as well if I say Rexford though. But no, perfectly fine name when it comes to it. Oh, the numerous plane delays. They were both utterly absurd and very much appreciated. I loved how the tension slowly started to rise between the different members during that. So every delay was met with, let's say, a little bit more of a groan rather than a relief as it went further and further. But at the end, they were all still very emotional, even though they had, quote-unquote, gone through it multiple times already. And there's just an authentic truth within that just got to me a little bit, and that was nice. There was a lot of symmetry with the opening pilot episode, from things like writing on the calendar, and even just other parts that are not even necessarily the pilot episode, but earlier on, and referencing kind of this full circle idea. We also had the soccer game later in there. And these were all nice touches, and I love the symmetry going on. It's a nice way to work a closing episode to a series, to be able to bring everything full circle, and at the same time it also references how much people have grown during the course of that show, and perhaps sometimes more than I give them credit for. They have grown. Oh, here's some guesses I missed about the finale. I thought that if Phil and Claire left on their trip, Haley and Dylan will probably get the house. That was my guess. I missed that one. They ended up getting Mitch and Cam's old house. So they still got somebody's old house, but I misguessed whose house it would be. I also guessed Alex would be leaving, although to be honest, I didn't think she would be going as far as Europe. Thought it would probably be closer than that. Also, I figured we might get a follow-up to Luke and his software startup, and I figured that would be the excuse he was going to have to go ahead and leave, say going to the East Coast because he needed to be in New York or somewhere else maybe. So I missed college being the answer. And I suppose they had left clues for that too, but I had missed that one being the case. Wonder whatever did happen to that startup of his. Oh, just on a completely trivia note, it's intriguing to end on your 250th episode. Just an interesting number to end on. Kind of neat. Some of the most emotional moments for me in that finale, Jay's line, "Both my sons are leaving." That one got to me. It was beautiful to see Jay have come that far. Especially if you know where he was in that pilot episode, to have seen him get to that point. I said that was beautiful, and that was, very, very nice. The moment with Claire and Phil when they're in the room that's now empty. That emptiness just gets to you, and you feel it through them at that moment. How about the big group hug? There's no way that couldn't get to you. Haley's even got the comment in that one of, who knows when we'll all be together again. And isn't that the truth? I mean, for the actors as well, and the crew and everyone else, who knows? So there's a finality to it that actually has a meta level to it too, and it just has that note of finality. And I know that feeling in other aspects of life. Most of us do. We have groups of people that no longer will be all together, and that can't help but get to you a little bit. But then a little bit further, it's Phil's moment when he's going to be the brave one and leave the hug first because somebody has to. And then he just can't do it. He comes back. I mean, these are tearjerker moments. And if you've watched the show for 11 seasons and loved it and loved the characters, then some of these moments probably got to you too. And maybe some of the other ones really in there. And to close out talking about the finale, I've got to talk about the end piece. A little bit earlier, there's a conversation between Phil and Claire where Claire says, "They're really leaving. What do we do?" And Phil says, "What people have always done. Leave the porch light on. They come back." It was such a poignant ending. And then we end with all the lights turning off for each of the houses. And then at the Dunphy house, the porch light goes on. And that's our closing shot for the show. And it's a beautiful ending. I certainly know that kind of feeling from a different direction in my own life. My parents certainly have always left the porch light on, and I always appreciate that. Okay, before I get too much further and get too much more emotional about that finale, let's move on. So let me just say thank you to the cast and crew of Modern Family for 11 wonderful seasons. You have done magnificently and will be missed. Personally, I do not think that the show ran its course or was out of new ideas or was just phoning it in. Did the show have its ups and downs? Definitely. It's hard to compete with the early seasons of the show, but the show still had plenty of really good, emotional, comedic, and touching episodes in its later years. Surely the show could have kept going, but the decision to end it now does exactly what the creators have said. It will protect its legacy. And what a legacy it has. Modern Family will be remembered as one of the best sitcoms of all time. And that's not overselling it, nor is it hyperbole. After all, this is the show that tied the record for Best Comedy Series Emmys with Frasier, 5 each. It's certainly in my own personal list of favorite sitcoms. Thank you, Steve and Christopher, for giving us a chance to say goodbye in this episode of Modern Family. And I'll leave the porch light on for any spin-offs or revivals. What about all of you? Have you seen the finale? What will you miss most about Modern Family? Are you hoping for a spin-off or a revival sometime in the future? Let me know down below. And thanks for watching. If you liked it, please give it a like and share it with your friends. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another new episode of Freeform Disney. And if you haven't done it yet, click the subscribe button and ring that bell. Have a magical day, and may the Force be with you always.